The sun hung low over the shattered plains of Veritos IV. Human scout Liam slowed his steps as he surveyed the broken ground. His boots kicked up ash and dust with each careful move. The air tasted of metal and smoke. In the distance, blackened wrecks of alien war machines lay half-buried in the red soil. He paused, listening to the hush that followed the day's last gunfire. A soft moan drifted through the tense silence. Liam's heart quickened. He crouched behind a jagged rock and peered toward the sound. There, just beyond a twisted hull, lay a figure in gleaming armor. The chest plate was cracked. Sparks glowed where torn circuits met torn skin. The warrior's helmet lay shattered on the ground, revealing long dark hair and pointed ears. Liam knew this was no ordinary troop. She was something more, an alien princess, perhaps. He risked a step forward, rifle lowered. Blood stained her green tunic, but her breathing stayed steady. Liam reached into his pack and fetched a small canteen of water. Kneeling, he whispered, "I come in peace." He poured water into his cupped hand and offered it to her. Her eyes flickered open, revealing fierce violet irises. For a moment, neither spoke. Dust drifted in the shaft of fading sunlight. As she drank, Liam scanned her wounds. A deep cut ran along her side, likely from falling debris. Carefully, he pulled a clean cloth from his pack and pressed it against the gash. She flinched, but did not pull away. Instead, she placed her hand gently over his and gave a soft nod. In that instant, Liam felt the weight of her honor. He had saved an enemy, yet she did not offer hate. Nearby, distant gunfire snapped. Other human soldiers patrolled the plains, hunting for survivors. Liam stood and helped the princess to her feet. She swayed, winded, but did not collapse. He wrapped the cloth around her side, then slid his arm under her shoulders to support her. Her head rested lightly on his arm as he led her toward a battered hover truck. The engine's dull hum seemed like mercy. Inside the vehicle's cabin, he guided her to a bench seat. He fetched a first aid kit and worked quickly to clean her wound. She stayed silent, watching him with cautious trust. Sparks of fear mixed with relief in her expression. Every movement spoke of pain, yet she allowed him to help. When the bandage was secure, Liam offered her a small packet of nutrient paste. She took it and ate, each bite slow and deliberate. Dust settled on her shoulders like tiny stars. Liam looked out at the horizon. He knew this single act of mercy would change everything. The princess closed her eyes, breathing more easily now. Liam dipped his head in a quiet bow. He did not know her name or her rank, but he understood this. She had chosen not to die alone on these broken plains. As the hover truck lifted, the wind carried her soft whisper, almost lost in the engine's hum. "Thank you, human." The hover truck banked gently over the red dunes as Liam guided the injured princess toward the human outpost. Powdered dust clung to her armor, and she moved with slow, careful steps. Liam's pack felt heavy on his shoulders, but he pressed on. He knew that help awaited inside the camp's walls. At the main gate, 2 armored guards raised their rifles at the sight of area. "Hold," one barked. "This is an enemy officer." Liam stepped forward with his hands open. "She is wounded," he said. "She needs medical care." The guard hesitated, then lowered his weapon. They led Arya through the gate into the bright glare of searchlights. Inside the medical tent, metal tables and flickering monitors hummed softly. Doctors and nurses moved quickly among wounded soldiers. Liam helped Arya onto a table. She winced but did not cry out. A nurse pressed a cool device against her side to scan for internal bleeding. Liam studied her face. Her pointed ears twitched with each beep of the scanner. When the scan finished, the head doctor, a tall woman named Dr. Perez, covered Arya's wound with fresh bandages. "She should rest," Dr. Perez said. "This cut is deep, but not fatal." Liam nodded. He felt relief wash over him. Then he noticed officers gathering at the tent's entrance, their faces tense. Colonel Reeves strode in, his boots clanging on the metal floor. His sharp eyes rested on Arya. "What is she?" he demanded. "Why is she here?" Liam squared his shoulders. "I found her injured on the plains. She is no threat." The colonel's jaw tightened. "Enemy officers carry secrets. We must know her mission." Arya sat up slowly. Liam moved to help her lie back. With effort, Arya reached for the translator device at her belt. Its small screen lit up, and soft English words formed. "I am Princess Arya of the Elysian Court," she said. The tent went silent. Liam watched as her proud shoulders sagged. She closed her eyes, then opened them again. Arya spoke again, voice low but clear. "My people are enslaved by my father's rule. I carry evidence of his betrayal. I fled to warn your alliance." Colonel Reeves frowned. "Evidence?" Arya nodded and tapped her device. A data chip slid from her gauntlet. She held it out with a trembling hand. Liam caught it gently. "This chip shows my father's plan to use a weapon of mass destruction on both our worlds," Arya said. "He believes humans are a threat to his throne. He will destroy your cities." Liam's heart pounded. The room seemed to spin. Colonel Reeves stared at the chip, then back at Arya. At that moment, distant alarms sounded. The main gate's klaxon warned of an incoming patrol. Soldiers rushed past the tent, shouting orders. Arya looked at Liam with wide eyes. "They will come for me," she whispered. Liam nodded. He slid the data chip into his pocket. He did not know if he could trust these officers, but he knew one thing. He would protect her secret with his life. As the tent doors slammed shut behind the rush of guards, Liam helped Arya from the table. Together, they slipped into the shadows of the camp's back passages. The danger grew closer with each heavy step, but so did their fragile bond of trust. Morning light filtered through the canvas walls of the hidden cabin. Liam placed a small translator device on the wooden table between them. Its smooth surface glowed faintly when he tapped the power button. Arya watched with curious eyes. She had never needed human words before. Liam spoke slowly into the device. "Hello," he said. The machine repeated his word in soft alien tones. Arya's lips curved in a gentle smile. She raised her hand and said, "Sholo," her voice quiet but clear. The device echoed, "Sholo," and then translated, "Hello." They shared a look. Liam felt hope rise in his chest. He tapped another button. "Friend." The device repeated "friend," then played Arya's attempt. "Ferend." It translated back, "Friend." Arya's pointed ears twitched. She placed her hand over her heart and said "Ferend" again. Liam nodded and smiled. All morning they worked together. Liam taught simple words: food, water, help, safe. Arya practiced each new sound, her dark hair falling forward as she bent over the device. At first, her accent was thick and hesitant. Yet by midday, she spoke short phrases more smoothly. "I am Arya. You help me. I trust you." Between lessons, Arya studied Liam's face and gestures. She noticed how his eyes lifted when he was happy and how his shoulders slumped when tired. She tried to copy his small nods and smiles. Liam pointed to his helmet and said, "Helmet." Arya's eyes lit, and she tapped the translator. "Helmet." Then she pointed to her own cracked helmet and said, "Broken." The device repeated, "Broken." Liam understood and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Liam also learned from Arya. She showed him how to hold his breathing steady and how to watch for small signs of movement in the distance. He followed her silent signals, a raised eyebrow, a shifted weight. Together, they practiced moving quietly through the cabin's small yard. Liam felt his steps grow lighter. Arya smiled at his effort. By afternoon, the bond between human and princess had deepened beyond mere words. Liam offered Arya a piece of dried fruit. She accepted it and said "thank you" in halting English. The device played back, "Thank you." She paused, then added in her own tongue, Merkera, and the translator turned it into Merkera. Thank you. Liam laughed softly. He was learning her language too. As the sun dipped low, they sat side by side on a wooden bench. Arya spoke into the translator without prompting. Humankind are brave. The device returned his own words. You are brave, Arya. She placed her hand over hers and closed her eyes. In that quiet moment, neither needed more words to understand the trust forming between them. Their voices grew calm and sure. Through patient effort and open hearts, Liam and Arya bridged the gap of worlds, one simple word at a time. Before dawn, the outpost lay silent under a pale sky. Watchtowers stood like silent sentinels against the red horizon. Inside the walls, human soldiers and healers worked through the night, tending to the wounded and guarding the gates. Arya and Liam stood atop a low rampart, scanning the plains below. Liam checked his rifle's charge. Its digital sight glowed softly in the half-light. Arya fastened her energy blade at her side. The weapon hummed faintly, its blue edge ready to cut through steel. She turned to Liam and nodded. Neither spoke. They both sensed danger. Suddenly, alarms shattered the still air. Sirens wailed as floodlights snapped on around the camp. Soldiers rushed to battle stations. The ground trembled beneath the thrum of enemy walkers marching forward. Dark shapes moved across the plain, dozens of alien war machines advancing in tight formation. Colonel Reeves barked orders from the command post. Hold the line. No one falls back. Soldiers manned heavy turrets. Engineers readied energy shields. Liam and Arya exchanged a quick glance and raced toward the front wall together. At the breach point, human gunners aimed plasma cannons. The first volley struck the walker's armor, but the machines pushed on. Arya surged forward, her blade flashing in a fierce arc. She leaped onto the nearest walker's hull, slicing through its exposed circuits. Sparks flew, and the machine ground to a halt. Liam sprinted beside her, firing his rifle at soldiers emerging from the walker's hatch. His bullets found gaps in their armor. Each shot drove them back under Arya's swift strikes. The two moved as one. Arya's speed and strength, Liam's precision and calm under fire. A second wave of alien infantry charged through a crater. Their heavy shields glowed as they advanced. Arya blocked their path, swinging her blade to tear through the shield's conduits. Liam used the distraction to flank them, tossing a smoke grenade that bathed the field in pale fog. Within the rising smoke, Arya and Liam called out simple commands. Now, Liam shouted. Arya answered with a fierce cry and led a swift counterattack. Soldiers on both sides hesitated as humans, and the princess fought together. Their teamwork sowed confusion in the enemy ranks. Colonel Reeves watched in astonishment. He raised his hand and ordered reinforcements forward. Human infantry poured through the breach, pushing the aliens back toward the walkers. Explosions rocked the plain as turrets found new targets. Arya dashed through collapsing dust, her armor singed but her spirit unbowed. She caught Liam's arm and guided him past a falling beam. They'd reached a damaged turret and manned it together. Liam angled the barrel while Arya calibrated the targeting system with her alien device. The turret fired, and a walker exploded in a brilliant flare. When the dust settled, the enemy advance had stalled. Broken machines and scattered soldiers lay across the plain. Cheers rose from the outpost as human banners lifted in the morning light. Liam and Arya stood side by side, breathing hard but smiling. Soldiers crowded around them, offering nods of respect. Arya turned to Liam, her violet eyes shining. She tapped the translator at her belt. "You fight well," the device said. Liam returned the nod and replied, "We fight together." In that moment, human and alien knew their bond was stronger than any army. After the fierce battle, the outpost lay quiet under a pale moon. Broken machines and spent shells covered the ground. Guards walked slowly along the walls. Liam and Arya slipped away from the main gate. They entered a small chamber lit by soft white lamps. A round table stood in the center. On it lay a holo projector. Liam tapped a button on the tabletop. The projector rose in a spiral of light. Arya knelt and placed her hand on its cool surface. She spoke in her native tongue. The disc glowed brighter. A three-dimensional map hovered above the table. It showed a lush world of green forests and blue seas. Tall silver trees covered wide plains. Light rivers wound around jagged mountains that rose into pink clouds. "This is Elysia," Arya said in clear, simple English. Her voice shook. "My home." Liam leaned in. "It is beautiful," he said. Arya traced a finger along the forests. Suddenly, the map shifted. Cities of glowing red blocks and dark lines replaced the fields. Soldiers marched in tight rows through empty streets. Armor plating sealed every window. Metal gates blocked every door. Arya closed her eyes. "My father, Emperor Solon, rules by fear," she said. "He says he protects us, but he steals our rights." She pointed to red symbols that marked prison camps. "Children are taken," she whispered. "Women work in factories. No one can speak the old songs." Tears welled in her violet eyes. "I could not help them die." Liam placed his hand on her shoulder. His heart pounded. "Tell me more," he urged. Arya drew a small data chip from her gauntlet and placed it on the table. Files and images streamed from her wrist. The projector filled with schematics for a massive weapon. Guns, missiles, and a spinning space station glowed in orbit. "This is the Starhammer," Arya said. "My father will use it to crush any who rebel. He will strike Earth next." Liam felt cold anger. He clutched the chip. "We will stop him," he said. Arya bowed her head. "I trust you, human." She closed her eyes as she spoke again. "I grew up in a village under silver oaks. My mother sang by the river. My father told tales of peace among the stars." She opened her eyes and sighed. Then the fear came. "We lost our songs." Liam thought of his home. "I grew up by a calm lake. My father taught me to fish." Arya smiled faintly. "Fishing. I wish I could try." They studied the map once more. Arya tapped a distant marker in space. "We must reach this station," she said. "Destroy its core. Then his fleet will fall." Liam nodded. "First, we take this chip to your allies. And mine." Arya stood and sheathed her blade. "Then we march on the Starhammer." Hand in hand, they left the room. Guards at the door bowed. A path of hope stretched before them. Together, they would free two worlds. Late one night, intelligence arrived by secure channel. Arya and Liam stood before the glowing map in the hidden cabin. Red markers showed the location of a rebel colony on a distant moon. The moon's surface lay under a thin cloud of silver dust. Arya's violet eyes narrowed. "They will strike at dawn," she said. "We must reach them before it is too late." Liam studied the map. He tapped a ridge line that led from the outpost to a narrow canyon. "We can sneak along this path," he said. "It is guarded, but patrols move slowly in the dark." Arya nodded and drew her energy blade. Its soft hum was a promise of swift justice. Liam slung his rifle over his shoulder and checked his gear. They moved out together. The air was cold as they slipped through the camp's back gate. Guards at the walls paused at a silent signal from Liam, then let them pass. Past the searchlights, the plains lay silent beneath a sky full of distant stars. Liam led the way, his steps careful. Arya followed, her armor barely making the sound. Each knew the other's strength and weakness. They reached the canyon's mouth in an hour. A thin mist rose from the crevice, hiding their figures. Within its walls, jagged rocks offered cover. Liam pointed to a patrol of two walkers, their circ lamps casting long beams of light. "Wait here," he whispered. He pressed himself flat against the rocks. Arya melted into the shadows. Together, they crawled along a hidden ledge above the patrol. When the patrol passed below, Arya signaled with a soft flicker of her wrist. Liam slid a small device from his pack. It gave off a low pulse that interfered with the walker's sensors. The machines sputtered and shut off, their lights dying. Soldiers barked orders as alarms rang inside the hull. Liam and Arya slipped past the stunned machines and dropped into the dry river beyond. The ground underfoot was firm, but covered in powdery dust. Each footstep kicked up tiny puffs. They moved in silence, trusting their senses more than their eyes. At one point, a section of cliff broke away under Arya's weight. She froze. Liam held his breath. A single pebble tumbled down, but no guard heard it. Arya let out a silent sigh. Liam gave her a quick nod. She smiled and pressed on. After 2 hours, the moon's rebel colony came into view. Its simple domes and spires stood against the horizon. Smoke curled from a damaged power plant. Arya's heart tightened. "They have already started," she said. Liam laid a hand on her arm. "We are here now," he said. "We will help them." Together, they crept toward the nearest dome. Liam opened a side hatch and motioned for Arya to follow. Inside, wounded rebels lay on low beds. A small team of fighters stood guard, their faces drawn with fear. Arya stepped forward and showed the data chip. "Princess Arya is here to save you." The device translated. The rebels' eyes widened. Hope flickered in the dim light. Liam and Arya prepared to lead the evacuation. Outside, enemy ships would arrive at dawn. The risky mission had begun, but so had a spark of defiance that would burn through the coming storm. The rebel dome was cold and shadowed, but inside the wounded found warmth in the hope Arya's arrival brought. Liam and Arya moved among the bunks. A rebel medic tended to a man with a fevered brow. Arya knelt beside him and placed a gentle hand on his arm. The translator's soft voice spoke. "I will help you heal." The rebel's eyes filled with gratitude. Outside, the sky turned pale as dawn neared. Enemy ships drifted in low orbit, their engines humming like distant thunder. Liam peered through the dome's viewport. He whispered, "They will land soon. We must move the people." Arya stood and nodded. She tapped her gauntlet, and a holographic route appeared on the wall. "This path leads to hidden caves," she said. "It will keep us safe from bombardment." Liam studied it. The caves lay beneath steep cliffs a few miles away. The journey would be long, but it offered cover. Arya's eyes shone with determination. "We go now," she said. Rebels rose from their makeshift beds and gathered supplies. Children clutched small packs. Elderly women carried flasks of water. Liam and Arya formed a protective line. Arya's blade glowed softly in her hand. Liam's rifle rested ready on his shoulder. They filed out through the hatch into pale morning light. The rebel fighters took point, clearing the dust-choked paths. Arya and Liam brought up the rear to shield the wounded. Each time a child stumbled, Arya caught her hand. Each time a fighter paused, Liam offered a steadying word. Halfway to the caves, the first enemy dropships roared overhead. Metal plates rattled as they deployed soldiers and drones. Rebel fighters formed lines and returned fire. Explosions shook the dust. Arya turned to Liam. "Keep going," she urged. "I will hold them." Liam hesitated but knew she was right. With a swift gesture, Arya charged into the fight. Her blade sliced through drones like paper. Enemy soldiers faltered at the sight of the alien princess leading the defense. Liam stayed with the column, urging the wounded forward. He could hear the clash of metal and cries behind him. When the last rebel crossed the canyon's mouth, Liam looked back. Arya stood alone against a wave of enemies. Her armor was scorched, but her stance was firm. Liam raised his rifle and fired at a drone about to strike her. The drone exploded in midair, debris scattering. Arya's eyes met his. In them, Liam saw fierce pride. She pressed her hand to her chest and nodded once. Then she turned and followed the retreating rebels toward the cave entrance. Liam raced to her side. Together, they led the exhausted group into the darkness of the caves. Inside, torches flickered on stone walls. Echoes of dripping water greeted them. The wounded sank onto ledges carved into the rock. Rebel fighters set up guard at narrow passages. Liam helped secure the cave entrance with energy barriers Arya activated from her gauntlet. Arya watched the rebels settle. She placed her blade on the ground and knelt before the injured. Liam joined her, offering water and food. In the soft torchlight, human and alien sat side by side, tending to the wounded. A fragile quiet settled over the cave. Liam looked at Arya. "You saved them," he said. She smiled tiredly. "We saved them," she replied. In that moment, the rebellion found new strength, born of trust between two worlds. Deep within the moon's caves, the rebel colony found new hope. Arya and Liam organized the fighters around the winding tunnels. Torches cast dancing shadows against rough stone walls. Each fighter knew the enemy would not stop until the Starhammer's orders were complete. "At dusk, we strike," Liam whispered as he pointed to a rough map drawn on parchment. "Drones patrol the plateau above. We must move quietly." Arya studied the lines. Her hand traced the path leading to the enemy's communication tower, the key to calling reinforcements. She tapped her gauntlet and nodded. Rebel fighters loaded weapons, spears fitted with energy tips, rifles that hummed with power, and small grenades crafted from alien alloys. Liam checked their gear. "Stay close," he told a young rebel with trembling hands. "Trust your strength." "I trust you." The rebel straightened, pride shining in his eyes. As the moon climbed high, the group slipped from the cave's mouth. The surface was bathed in pale light. Rocks and craters hid their approach. Liam led, stepping carefully over dust. Arya moved beside him, her armor whispering with each step. They reached the plateau's edge and peered at the communication tower. It stood tall on a rocky outcrop, its antennae slicing into the starry sky. Two guards paced below. Arya and Liam crouched behind a boulder. Liam signaled and threw a small smoke grenade. White mist ascended, hiding their movement. Arya leaped forward, silent as a shadow. In one swift motion, she disabled the two guards with non-lethal strikes. Liam joined her, securing their weapons. Both guards lay unconscious but unharmed. They climbed the tower's base and entered through a side hatch. Inside, blinking consoles and cables filled the room. Liam found the main control panel. Arya knelt beside him, inserting the data chip from her gauntlet. The machine hummed as it read the chip's information. Proof of the Emperor's crimes. Liam activated the override. A surge of energy flickered through the tower. Arya spoke into the central mic. "This is Princess Arya of Elysia. Rebel forces stand with human allies. Stand down and join us." Her voice echoed across the moon's valley. Outside, the patrol drones hummed then powered down. Alien soldiers peeked from behind rocks, uncertainty in their eyes. Rebel fighters emerged from cover, their spears raised in peace. Liam watched as one soldier dropped his rifle. Another followed. Soon, dozens joined the rebels, and even more joined Liam and Arya's side. On the cliffs above, human ships arrived. Spotlights scanned the valley. Troops lowered from shuttles and formed ranks. Liam felt excitement rise. Their combined forces, humans, rebels, and freed soldiers, stood ready. Arya stood before the masses. She raised her hand, her blade sheathed. "Today," she said, "we fight for freedom." Liam lifted his rifle, not to fire but to salute. The crowd cheered, echoing in the rocky valley. Together, they marched toward the Emperor's fleet docked at the stone docks. Their unity shone brighter than any weapon. The tide of war had turned, born from courage, trust, and a bond between a human and an alien princess. The combined army moved across the rocky plain under a sky streaked with dawn's first light. Human soldiers marched in steady rows, their rifles ready but lowered in respect. Rebel fighters closed ranks alongside freed alien troops. At the center rode Princess Arya on a sleek hover-seater, Liam at her side, his calm presence steadying her. Ahead loomed the Emperor's flagship, an immense vessel half buried in stone wings. Its great doors stood open like jaws waiting to swallow them. As they approached, armored guards blocked the path. At their front stood General Kale, Aria's cousin, his armor gleaming and eyes cold. "Princess," Kale called, voice echoing in the quiet, "return to your father. This rebellion is treason. Lay down your blade and step aside." Aria dismounted smoothly. She held her blade point down and met Cal's gaze. Liam led the human vanguard and stood beside her. Soldiers and rebels formed a wide circle around the three. Aria spoke first, her voice clear through the translator pinned on her armor. "I seek not your death, but your father's end to tyranny." She nodded toward the data chip in Liam's hand. "This shows his plan to destroy worlds for power." General Cal's lips curled into a sneer. "Your crimes are grave. You betray your blood. You force us to fight you as enemy." He tapped his gauntlet. The earth trembled as energy barriers rose from hidden domes on either side of the path. Liam stepped forward, raising his hands. "We come as allies," he called. "A chance for peace stands before you. Join us, and no harm will come to you." The human soldiers shifted as one, offering their rifles as symbols of alliance, not threats. General Cal's gaze flicked over the massed troops, humans, rebels, and former Imperial guards. Doubt showed in his eyes. He looked at Aria, then at the towering flagship behind her. For a tense moment, the world held its breath. Inside the flagship, Emperor Solon watched on a holoscreen. His face, lined with age and steel will, glowed in the darkroom. He spoke through the comlink. "Stop these traitors now. Show them the might of Elysia." Below, the sky roared as reinforcements descended, but instead of attacking, their weapons fell silent. Soldiers emerged, helmets off, and joined the ranks of the rebels. Liam's heart pounded. The Emperor's orders were ignored. General Cal's barrier faltered. He lowered his weapon and looked at Aria. "You have the support of many," he said quietly. "Your father's time ends today." Aria's eyes filled with relief. She sheathed her blade and offered Cal her hand. Liam pressed the data chip into Cal's palm. "Use this to guide the new council," he said. Cal nodded and signaled the barriers to drop. The great doors of the flagship closed with a reverent silence. As the crowd cheered, Liam and Aria stood together, facing the towering vessel. Victory felt close. But beyond those doors lay the final test, convincing the Emperor himself to surrender. In the quiet roar of celebration, Aria turned to Liam. She tapped her translator. "We did it," it said. Liam smiled and replied, "Together." Side by side, human and princess prepared for the last step in their long journey. The great doors of the Emperor's flagship stood tall and silent. Liam and Aria led the procession of humans, rebels, and former Imperial guards through the wide corridor. Polished metal walls reflected their determined faces. Soldiers on both sides lowered their weapons, creating a clear path toward the throne room. At the corridor's end, massive doors carved with ancient symbols opened with a soft hiss. Inside, Emperor Solon sat on a silver throne, his expression unreadable. Two golden banners hung behind him, one of the Imperial Eagle, the other blank, waiting for a new design. Aria stepped forward, her violet eyes steady. Liam followed, the last light of sunrise filtering through the tall windows. Guarded silence filled the room as the Emperor's gaze shifted between father and daughter. "Father," Aria began, her voice gentle yet firm through the translator on her belt. "You taught me to protect our people, but your fear turned to cruelty." She held out her hand, palm up and open. "I stand here for peace and freedom." Emperor Solon's rigid posture eased. He pronounced in his own tongue, and the translator echoed, "You defy me with the support of ships, soldiers, and nations." His gaze flicked to Liam. "And you, human, have fought beside my enemies." Liam bowed his head respectfully. "Your people deserve to live without fear," he said simply. "Together, we can build a future of safety and trust." The Emperor's eyes, once cold, softened as he looked at Arya. He stood slowly, his silver robes whispering on the polished floor. He reached for the blank banner behind him and tore it free. With a slow gesture, he draped it over Arya's shoulders. "My daughter speaks truth," he said. "I failed in my duty." He turned to Liam. "And you have shown me the heart of humankind." He paused, then nodded. "I will step down." Dr. Perez and Colonel Reeves entered with the new council members, human officers and alien leaders chosen by Arya and Kale. Together, they placed a simple crown of woven silver and green on Arya's head. Liam knelt and offered her the data chip, now a symbol of truth and unity. Arya stood, the crown resting lightly on her brow. She turned to face the council. "Let this day mark the dawn of a new era," she said. Humans and Elysians united in peace. Outside, trumpets sounded across the valley. Crowds gathered to watch the Emperor and Princess emerge onto the flagship's grand platform. Liam stood beside Arya, holding her hand. Soldiers in human uniforms and alien armor saluted together. Rebel fighters cheered, their voices echoing against stone cliffs. Emperor Solon raised his daughter's hand. "Long live Princess Arya," he proclaimed. The gathered crowds responded in unison. "Long live the new alliance." As cheers filled the air, Liam looked at Arya. Her eyes shone with pride and hope. The weight of conflict lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a promise of renewal. He squeezed her hand and said, "You have brought two worlds together." Arya smiled. "We did it together," she said softly. Below them, human and alien citizens celebrated side by side. The broken plains of Viewership IV now bloomed with peace. In that bright morning light, the warrior alien princess and the human scout stood as equals, bound by trust, courage, and a shared vision. Their journey had spanned stars and battles, but it ended here in unity. A new alliance had begun.